Darsow if it's real or fake. Golden Greek told us the giant goon Dickov, El Toro, the Grunt Brothers too. The wild Samoans got something crazy going. They're gonna be going after you. Wrestling tonight. Everything is bigger than life.
All right. Here we are on the As of Yet Unnamed podcast. I am your humble hardcore host, Mad Dog Butch. And joining me in the studio today is none other than multi-time Michigan Wrestling title holder, multi-time Michigan Wrestling Hall of Famer, and most recently the winner of XICW's Learn from a Vet.
Called Proving Ground.
Thank you. None other than the pretty boy redneck, Levi Blue.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I think you forgot to introduce your co-host, though.
Well, I'm doing you, and then I'm going to him after.
You don't have anything else to say? That's a shock.
Oh, give me time.
Yeah, we'll get warmed up here.
Also joining us, my longtime co-conspirator,
Yeah.
former host of the Michigan Wrestling Alliance, former host of the Pile Driver Radio Show, former host of the Jobber Hour, former referee extraordinaire, none other than my buddy, your buddy, everybody's buddy, Brace Buddy Beemer.
Well, thank you. It's great to be back on the airwaves. It's been a long time. I'm looking forward to going through this adventure with you guys.
All right, thank you. It's taken long enough for this to get going. A lot of people know that I've been trying to get this going for the last couple months. But before we get going, I do want to thank you guys for being on here, being on the inaugural pilot As of Yet Unnamed podcast. So I bear gifts, actually. Yeah.
Is it beer?
Let's see what we got here.
Oh, they ain't beer.
I don't know if you guys have seen, but for some reason, collectible lapel pins are like huge right now. Like there's so many companies that make them, and they're really cool. So anyway, Buddy Rogers, I got you the Ariba Tito Santana collectible pin.
Whoa.
All right.
And Levi, I got for you the Ted DiBiase Money Ain't Everything, It's the Only Thing money clip.
Oh, nice. See, because I don't wear a collar, so I don't need no lapel pin. So, and you're lucky you guys are. I'm even wearing sleeves. So.
Tito Santana, Arriba.
All right, like I said, I've been trying to get this going. What I wanted to do in the beginning was start from the beginning. We'll touch on that a little bit, but basically, you and I haven't done a show like this in somewhere around like 15 years or
Yeah,
so.
probably.
Yeah. So kind of what I want to talk about tonight for the most part is all the changes that we've seen in the last 15 years. But before I get to that, I just want to start off with it's always interesting to me to see how people get into wrestling in the first place, get hooked into wrestling. I like hearing their their memories, if they even remember like what got them into it originally. But
Me old.
Hey, I'm older than you. But yeah, you actually came along a little bit after us, but you and I have discussed this before. I know that you were like a global wrestling fan, as were we. But was that your first exposure to wrestling, or were you a WWF fan and then you got into global? And who were like some of your favorite wrestlers in the beginning? And if you remember the specific match that got you hooked.
Oh, I definitely remember. We're going to go back a long ways then. It was 84. It was the first day that we had cable at my house.
Nice.
And my dad just happened to turn on wrestling, and lo and behold, it was the famous Hulk Hogan versus Iron Sheik match.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Hogan went over for the title. And
January 23rd, 1983.
was that 83? I thought it was 84.
Well, you probably saw it in 84.
Oh,
You very
could
well
be.
could have.
No, it was the beginning of 84. It was January of 84.
That's what
Really?
I thought, 84.
Yeah.
Anyways, I saw that match there, and immediately hooked. 84, I was 10 years old, and beginning of Hulkamania, so that was pretty huge.
Yeah.
And but everyone was digging on Hulk Hogan, and back then I was more like a Jesse Ventura guy.
Yes.
You want to go a little further up. I love the $1 Million Man. Matter of fact, if you go to my Facebook page, you'll see like a picture where I went to some mall just to wait in line for 2 hours just so I could meet Ted DiBiase.
Oh, really?
That's awesome.
And
Awesome.
oh, yeah, I see that little roly-poly guy with those big old thick Coke bottle glasses, and I believe it was a Florida Marlin shirt when they first come out. So,
You talking about yourself?
yeah, that was me,
okay.
man. Actually, we caught him before he went to his autograph session, and he was very humble and generous with his time with us. And as crazy as it's going to sound, when I saw DiBiase for the first time and how cool he was to us, it's like, okay, we got to start going to these live. We got to start meeting these guys.
Yeah.
So, everyone talks about their biggest matches. It's always got the biggest guys in it, the ones that influenced them the most. All right, guys. Mine was at the Palace. I believe it was in 89. It was maybe 90. It was Jim Powers versus the Repo Man.
Oh, yeah.
And, but okay, you guys got to think about this for a second. The Repo Man.
We laugh, but Repo's good worker.
Oh,
Great worker.
super nice guy. And the thing of later down the line, I did get to meet Barry Darsow, and very very humble guy, and he claims he remembered us, but I seriously doubt it because seeing him on TV, the gimmick, the character is what drew me in, and so my buddies and I, we went and we made our own T-shirts that said Repo Man Fan Club, and we had masks and the whole 9 yards, and it was right around Christmas time, and he was wrestling Jim, and he looked over and he saw us, and we were in the front row, and he's like, "Hey boys, you want a Christmas gift?" And we're all, we're going nuts. Yeah, guys talking to us. He turns around and he pokes Jim Powers in the eyes. He goes, "Merry Christmas." And we about crapped our pants. And he looked back at Jim Powers, poked him in the eyes again. He goes, "And a Happy New Year too." And we're like, yes. So just Repo Man's interaction with us.
That's awesome.
I will say, if I could stop you for a second, I'll bet you the Repo Man, Barry Darsow, Crusher
Khrushchev, Poland one Darsow, Demolition Smash.
Yeah.
Wasn't he like the Blacktop
Blacktop
Bully.
Bully? Yeah.
But I listened to one of his shoot interviews a long time ago, and he said that he can pretty much remember any match that he's had. Now think about that. And
Really?
he said, all you got to do is just give me a little detail about it, and I can kind of recall it. Because they were doing that on the interview, and they made a mention on how much he remembers. So
That's pretty crazy because most of the time when you watch a shooter interview with those guys, inevitably the interviewer is going to ask them about a specific match, and almost every one of those guys, because they work so much, is going to be like, "No, I don't remember that. I don't even remember working with that guy."
Right.
He's like, "Well, I got it on video," but I do got to say Barry Darsow is a underrated worker in my view.
oh heck yeah, he's at the time there's so much talent.
I mean, he got saddled with some crappy gimmicks. Let's,
But he
no
made
bones
them
about
work.
it.
Yeah, he
But yeah,
made
he
them
did.
work.
Yeah, you're right. He did. Definitely did. Now, buddy, you, I'm sure you and I have talked about this. I don't remember, but what, was there a specific match that got you hooked on wrestling or?
Yeah, there was. It started I have two younger brothers, and they were watching wrestling, and they got me into it. All I knew of wrestling was Dick the Bruiser, just from the pop culture. The WRAF 101.1 would put his promos on there, and they had a guy imitate him, and you'd see him on TV every once in a while.
Oh yeah.
But I started watching it because we got cable early. I think it was late '82, maybe, somewhere around there. And I would watch it, but I wouldn't like it. I'd see a guy and I'd see light through the headlock, and I would say, "Turn it off. This is, crap." I don't like using the other word, but because I just saw I'd already been in a bunch of fights, been in like wrestling with friends. And my
So you're
brothers.
saying that you knew right off the bat that it was a work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, immediately. I don't
Yeah.
know. You know, I'd never got.
But if you were watching Dick the Bruiser, okay,
I didn't. I didn't. I knew of Dick the Bruiser
Okay.
from the, you know, like the pop culture stuff, not the wrestling.
okay, because I was going to say, you know, my grandfather was in a bar one time. Just got done with the show. My grandfather used to work with Ricky Cortez,
Oh, really?
and Dick the Bruiser coming to the bar, and he says, I really can't say what he says, but essentially he says, I know you guys are going to mess with me, so if you want to do this, let's get it out the way now, and I'll kick all your butts. I said that very
Really?
politically correct.
Right.
And
As you should.
He
because
challenged the whole bar.
it's still prime time. So.
And so, yeah, Dick the Bruiser was, as far as I'm concerned, the furthest thing from fake you're going to get to.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Right,
very true.
Right. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that would go into a bar, and I mean, there's a story about Dick Murdoch and Dusty Rhodes riding into some bar with their guns out, riding
on the
on these
ponies?
little, on these little ponies. But okay, so at first you thought it was a work, so you weren't really into it. Your brothers were watching it.
Yeah.
So what eventually changed your mind and got you actually watching?
It
paying
slowly
attention.
started to come around because I remember I started watching the Georgia show on TBS, and they just had different guys there than what I had been seeing, whether it be WWF or the local WWA. You know, Cannon was around with some superstar stuff early in the 80s, but so I created an opinion that these guys are better than the other guys, you know. And really what got me hooked was there was a WWF match of all the people. It was Andre the Giant against Big John Studd in a steel cage. I think it was from the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything about those guys, really. I'd never seen their promos. I didn't know if they were good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching the match, and my brothers are voting for Andre the Giant. Big, huge guy with the big hair, looked like a freaking monster, right?
Yeah. Well, he was.
Yeah. And so I'm looking at Big John Studd, and I'm going for Studd. He just looks like a bigger version of one of my dad's buddies. You know, he kind of had like the softball jacket on, the whole shot. So I'm voting for Big John Studd, and everybody else is voting for Andre, and I could not figure it out. He was cheating just as much as Studd. I was looking at it from a complete outsider perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So from that match, it wasn't the match, and they bled, which kind of hooked me to, you know, the element of realism, but it was the crowd. You know, because I thought about that for a while, like what really got me hooked, but it was the crowd, how much they were into it, and that since that time, just I've been hooked.
Yeah, I remember in I guess it would have been in middle school, 1984, when Hulkamania was starting to get huge. I mean, I'm sure I had seen wrestling at that point, but probably like you, I just passed it up or whatever. I mean, I think I knew that it existed, but I remember guys in high school or in middle school talking about certain wrestlers, Andre the Giant, Junkyard Dog, and I had them pictured in my head totally different. And so then I would you know, I'd come across wrestling, but I didn't know what it was. I mean, I think I remember like watching what I know now is Mid-South was on for a while. So I remember seeing like Jake the Snake
On
there.
TBS
thinking, yeah, I guess. I
Sunday,
mean, it was when
yeah.
I first got cable, so I don't know. I'd be flipping through Georgia Championship Wrestling probably at that time. So I didn't really know what was what. And then finally I came across, well, actually, excuse me, my dad, I remember this specifically. My dad and I were sitting there. I don't know where everybody else was in the house, but he was like flipping through the channels, comes across WWF, and it was Sergeant Slaughter and the Wild Samoans against Dick Murdoch, Adrian Adonis, and Captain Lou Albano.
I remember.
You know,
that
I
match.
mean, you know, the match is good for what it was, but seriously, nothing like you were saying. I mean, it's not like the greatest match ever. It's not like some big match, but and he was watching it and he's like, hey, do you ever watch this stuff? This is the greatest comedy on TV. He's like, look at this guy, look at that guy, look at him doing that. But I was like hooked after that, and then I would like watch whatever I'd watch, and I mean, I think there was a time where I would only watch WWF, and then there was another period where I don't think that period lasted very long, and then I started watching NWA and all the other stuff too. But But yeah, it wasn't like, and like you were saying, it didn't take long for me to realize that the heels were the cool guys.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I probably started watching wrestling mid '84, early '84, and I went to my first house show in, I want to say January of '85, but it might have been later. It might have been December '85. But either way, I was booing Tito Santana out of the building at that point. It was like him and Ventura were the main event for the IC title.
Oh, down at the Joe.
Yeah, not. But I wasn't the only one. I was happy with the Detroit wrestling fans at that point because Tito won by DQ or count out or something, and he raises the belt at the end and says Arriba, and everybody. I mean, he just got so much heat. But yeah, I mean, at that point, I was still probably rooting for Junkyard Dog. I remember it was Junkyard Dog and Terry Funk. I wasn't originally a fan of Funk when I saw him in WWF, but when he went to WCW, he eventually became one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Still is to this day. But Piper, I mean, come on. I mean, he had me hooked right off the bat, the Piper's Pit stuff, just the stuff that he was doing in the beginning. I mean, probably by WrestleMania 1, I highly doubt that I was rooting for Hogan and Mr. T.
But see, you're talking about these big names. When I became a real fan of wrestling, honestly, and you guys are going to go, no. My favorite guy, and I've said it 100 times on Facebook, was Iron Mike Sharp.
Nice.
Because, just how...
I saw Mike Sharp on that house show. I don't remember who he wrestled, but...
Him, I was always pulling for the jobbers or the enhancement talent, Barry Hardy, Mr. X, Dwayne Gill.
Voting for the underdog.
Barry Horowitz,
Barry Horowitz was awesome, too.
We went to this one house show, and before, Tim Horner became a name, he pinned Nikolai Volkov at the Palace, and everyone in the arena about crapped their pants because, oh my God, enhancement talent just pinned Nikolai Volkov.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
I had to look that up to verify that, but yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, but see, I was watching those guys, and to me, watching those guys kind of made wrestling for me. I was a big Ted Arcidi fan. I was a big Hercules Hernandez.
Yeah.
Herc was great talent.
Yeah, he's another one.
I mean, they were great talent, but they were also, made to be enhancement. You know what I'm saying? They were never going to get past the mid card. Well, and those were my favorite guys.
I think Arcidi would have got a push, but I just read this recently where Patera had gotten out of prison and they were bringing Patera back.
Right.
And Vince didn't want to have two guys billed as the world's strongest men.
Right.
So Patera came back, and I'm sorry, but he sucked. When he came back as a babyface out of prison. I mean, maybe if he would have turned, flipped to heel again.
He paid his debt to society.
But yeah, I mean, he just, he just wasn't the same when he came back. I have a feeling they were going to give him a big push if they could, a big babyface push against Heenan. But, Heenan's army.
Did a show a number of years ago. I think it was like 97, 98 at the Flint IMA. And they had King Kong Bundy booked there, but they also had Ken Patera. And when he said he had Patera, I'm like, oh man, I gotta meet Patera. Even though I was, fresh out of wrestling school, I was just the biggest wrestler, Mark Everest. Like, I gotta meet Ken Patera. He's right over there, and I look over, and here's the shell of a man. He didn't look nothing like he did in the '80s, and I was just like blown away how drastically different it was from this guy who, they built so big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. A little disappointing.
Well, let me ask you this: what was it about wrestling that hooked you?
I don't know. I don't know if I could pinpoint any specific reason. I really don't know. Just I mean, I don't want to say the theatrics of it or anything. It was just I don't think I can pinpoint it. It was just
I can pinpoint it for you.
It's just what
every kid loves a superhero. They love good guys. They love bad guys. You watch it on TV. You play it in video games. It's ingrained in our DNA. Good guys versus bad guys.
Yeah, and I was already a comic book fan, and that is, I mean, really, it was the closest thing to a live-action comic book. Looking back now, it really is. And now, just real quick, I want to mention, something. One thing that kind of stinks is like going back and seeing like some of the guys that you thought were good. And you mentioned Big John Studd earlier.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've been watching some of his matches lately. Just not good.
Yeah, his older stuff is pretty good though.
Yeah, I mean his WWF stuff was,
Oh, yeah, right.
was not
He
good.
was never meant to be a wrestler. Like Andre was never meant to be a wrestler. Andre was an attraction.
I
He was there to
agree,
bring
but
in
I
money.
can watch Andre's matches and not cringe.
When Andre was young and very mobile,
Oh.
Oh,
he could
no,
work.
he was amazing.
He was amazing.
Yeah,
As he got older and as he got bigger, he was an attraction.
Yeah.
Much like John Studd, much like a King Kong Bundy, much like an Elegante who was a turd.
yeah.
You know, I
well,
mean,
yeah, totally.
anyone that's overly huge, you know, it was like, God forbid, the un-PC term midget matches.
Right.
Okay, Lord
Yeah.
Littlebrook, Little Tokyo, you know, God, I have a hard time
Little
remembering.
Beaver.
Little Beaver, Little Haiti.
Where's Gino
You know,
Brito at?
Now, think about that for a second. Think about how politically incorrect those names are with those characters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, using the term midget,
Right.
but they were an attraction.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Oh no, I totally understand.
Just like the
I-
women.
the women were.
Yeah.
Were
And
now
Billa
now
was an
the
attraction.
Yeah.
women are wrestlers.
Right.
I mean,
and that's what I want to get into because I mean, like I said in the beginning, I mean, I kind of want to touch on the changes in the last 15 years, and there's been quite a few, not just the last 15 years, but I'm just using that as kind of a template because that was about the time we stopped doing the Jobber Hour.
Yeah.
Social media has, I mean, I don't even watch wrestling anymore. I have the network. I mean, I'll watch it if I catch it, but I don't go out of my way to watch Monday Night Raw. I don't go out of my way to watch SmackDown, basically because anything that happens is going to be on my Facebook feed immediately or the next day anyway. I mean, do you still like watch it as religiously as you used to? You probably don't even have time to.
I use the DVR. I guess that's kind of archaic anymore, but
Well, I don't even have one, so
I fast
DVR's
forward.
archaic.
I guess.
Where have I been?
Well, fact of the matter is you can jump right on your phone and watch whatever you want to watch, or you can watch Scotty Freytown give you the play-by-play on damn Facebook feed.
yeah.
I mean,
true.
Everyone's an armchair booker.
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
know?
Absolutely.
That's true.
I don't even go on Facebook on Mondays or Tuesdays anymore, just because I don't want to.
Buddy, I mean, do you watch? I mean, I know you probably watch it less than I do now.
I haven't watched in so long. I'll probably try a couple times a year, and it just looks like a bunch of dancing bears and the same thing that I've seen. Here's an example. I was watching this stuff from this company called Universal Championship Wrestling from 1990, out east somewhere. And so I'm like, I've never seen this before. Let me check it out. It's 1990. Maybe there's some good stuff in it. Nope. It looked almost just like they do today with all the flips, all the lucha, the Japanese, the just spot after spot. And I'm like, dang. I mean, nothing's changed.
Actually, I got to disagree with you. There's been a ton of changes in the last 15 years. I mean, and you said it directly. It has to do with social media.
Oh, sure. But I'm talking about the.
Oh, I'm going there. Hold on. All right. See, there's this word out now. There's this big buzzword out there anymore, and it's called viral. You want to go viral. So now these kids nowadays, they are becoming spot monkeys. They are pulling off all these incredible maneuvers that myself in a million years would never have thought that I could have done. And what they're looking to do is they're looking for that one moment on social media that's going to get them noticed by some company somewhere, so they're going to get booked.
Your sports show highlight type deal.
Exactly. See, anymore, and I really don't want to go into breaking kayfabe and how we used to go over matches, but matches nowadays are so complex, and I've learned this through Proving Ground. While it's called, I'm supposed to mentor my rookie.
Yeah.
These rookies were actually mentoring me because the changes in the wrestling industry as a whole has become so dynamic in the fact that everyone is looking for that one moment.
Yeah.
It
Right.
used to be, I hate to put this out there like this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put it out there to everyone out there. In independent wrestling, it was about putting over the show. Okay, it was about the build. It was about the roller coaster ride. Started off big, taking it to a dip, coming to the next spot.
Right.
Fact of the matter is, it's not like that anymore. Everyone wants to go balls out,
Right.
because everyone is about themselves. They want. It's not about putting over the show anymore. It's about putting out their gimmick, putting them over, so that they can get looked at by these bigger companies.
Sure.
And let's face it, anymore, you could say there's a big three. You know what I say? Screw that. There's so many good promotions out there now that are drawing 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people that these guys know that if they get noticed, even if it's a screw up, look at butthurt trash bag wrestlers, for God's sake.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. There's a lot of guys that want to get on there just for the exposure on there.
Right. It's all about social media now. When we were doing this wrestling, 15 years ago, we were calling the 876 numbers.
Sure.
The pro wrestling hotlines.
Yeah.
Now anymore, anyone could go on. Oh, look, someone's laughing at the fact I used the term kayfabe and laughed about it. Thanks, Cody. In fact, I don't know where I was going now. That just blew my mind.
We're talking about the differences. My thought was just all the matches, like they go in and they just execute moves.
Okay.
And that's
In the big shows, absolutely. On the indies, absolutely not. There's a taste for everybody out there. It just depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to the old thing. If the crowd doesn't want chocolate, then you go out there and give them vanilla or whatever, the old saying. But do promoters, like nowadays, do they sit them down and say, hey, I want you to do this and I don't want you to do this? Or they just let them go out there and just do whatever they want?
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and break this down for you.
Okay.
I just did a show here this past month out in Port Huron for a company called Blue Water Championship Wrestling. The promoter's name is Andrew Darcy.
Right.
He literally sat down his whole entire roster, and I'm talking not just like 10 or 20 guys. There was at least 40, 50 people at this one meeting.
Did you guys take a picture of everybody at that one? Or okay, maybe not. I thought I saw a picture that you had posted with like the whole locker room, but it might have been one of your other shows.
Yeah, maybe. But he literally sat down for an hour and a half telling these guys specifically how he wants his show to go and how these shows to build.
Okay.
Point of difference.
Good. I'm glad.
XICW. Love them to death. Malcolm Monroe the second, Malcolm Monroe the third. They got a whole eclectic group of promoters and booking agents for this.
Okay.
You know what they're saying is, we're going out there balls to the wall. Top that.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess I could see both points of view somewhat. I mean, I know I've been to XICW shows, and the Monroes used to be guests on our old pile driver show.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that. That's kind of what the XICW fans clamor for, would you say?
I do.
like an ECW style. They're not really booking a card. They're just booking.
They are booking matches that the fans want to see.
Okay.
And if you don't go out there and deliver, then you're not going to be booked the next show. That's just the way it is. Proving Grounds showed me that. And there was so much talent in season 5 this year of Proving Grounds. And these guys went out there and they brought it every single time. And here I am, and this is no work here. I'm a 44, almost 45-year-old man going, what the hell am I supposed to do with these kids? Because they're all doing all these flips and flops and flies.
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, I can punch and kick. What am I going to do? Well, next thing you know, and you're going to say no. But next thing I know, guess who's diving over the top rope, doing a front flip?
Yeah.
This guy. Who's doing the flying leg scissors? This guy. Who's going out there and bleeding buckets of blood? Yeah, this guy. But
right.
It was about at that point in time, it was about proving ground. Notice us. We're the ones that want to win this, because what a lot of people don't realize about proving ground is the judging is a complete shoot. There is no work to this at all.
I saw you saying that. So is it, and I can't remember, is there a group of judges or is it based on fan reaction or both?
So you got a panel of 3 judges,
okay,
and they have a scoring sheet in front of them, and they base the scores essentially on ring entrance, performance, whether you screw up or not, the crowd reaction, execution of moves. And it's based, I believe it's based on 10 points. Okay. Each category gets 10 points. Each judge writes down whatever score they think that you got. Fact of the matter is, if you don't score, you don't win. I mean, and Billy Ray Daniels and myself, 101 proof in XICW, Redneck Rockstars, and Blue Water Championship Wrestling. We went out there against some guys like Malcolm Monroe III, Sean Kemp, Jonathan Wolf, Dre Jacobs. I mean, these guys are just tearing it up out there on the indies right now. And it was all about how can we do this? How can we get noticed by people? And that's where the thought process comes in, and that's where the whole mentoring and wrestling with a vet comes in. Because Billy Ray, I don't mean to go on about proving grounds, but I'm going to. Billy Ray, it was a complete shoot how we picked our rookies. Okay. It was a number system, 1 through 8, I think it was. You drew a number. You picked what rookie you wanted based on the promos that they gave. Fact of the matter is, I wrestled Billy Ray one time previous to this Proving Ground show. Everyone was saying, Levi, you got to pick Billy Ray. I'm like, I don't want to pick Billy Ray. Everyone is expecting me to pick Billy Ray. I want this kid named Tricky Mickey Mavis. Okay. Well, as it turns out, Josh Movado got Tricky Mickey Mavis right before I did. So I'm like, well, what the hell? These people want me to team up with Billy Ray. I got Billy Ray. A complete shoot how that happened. I didn't know the kid. He's like my brother now. We literally talked every single day from April on. His family's come out to my house.
Oh, nice.
That's awesome.
We've had dinners together. We've gone, I did his family photos for him.
Cool.
We became real close.
Yeah.
And not only did we take the team through XICW, we took it up to UWE, where Eric Freedom runs up in Cadillac, Michigan. We also took the team, like I said, to Blue Water. We did everything we could to mesh and meld as a team. And you want to talk about 100% shoot, buddy, you want to check out a show, you need to go check out the next Proving Ground show. It is nothing like you have ever seen. You're talking about you're seeing the same matches on TV.
Yeah. Go
to a Proving Ground show. Go to a Blue Water show. Go to a UWE show.
Oh, good.
Go to a DSW show. Detroit Style Wrestling. It's just amazing, the variety of tastes and,
Now, be honest.
It's crazy.
When you got involved with this, did you think that you had a chance of pulling it off?
Honestly. Yeah.
To shoot. Oh, okay.
Straight shoot.
Well, good.
I there was teams that we were facing that I knew we were gonna get by almost rather easily, and then there was other teams who I was a little bit worried about.
Okay.
And one of those teams was Malcolm Monroe III and Jonathan Wolf.
So you're saying the third, is that DBA's kid?
MM3.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All righty.
And unfortunately, Jonathan Wolf had to miss a show, so they were disqualified. So we didn't have to face them.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I don't want to.
So is all the scoring going on like during the card, like during the match?
During the match, yeah.
So it's any semblance of kayfabe is gone?
The match itself is your atypical wrestling match, okay? I'm not going to go any further than that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
As far as the scoring goes, the fans know nothing about the scoring except for the final score. So.
Okay.
So is that how you win the match? The score as opposed to a pin?
Right.
Interesting.
Now, I've attended a couple of your retirements.
Son of a gun.
Why don't go ahead and retire just like Terry Funk?
So how many? Oh, well, I was going to ask you earlier. How many? I mentioned in the beginning that you are a multi-time Michigan Hall of Famer. How many different Michigan Hall of Fames are you in now?
currently 4, but I got a call for a 5th in April.
Excellent. Can you tell us which one, or is it kayfabe for now?
I will let them announce it.
Okay.
They came to me with it, and but currently right now I'm in the MWO Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
the XICW Hall of Fame, the UWE Hall of Fame, and then the Michigan Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Now, were you planning on getting back into it, like the last
No,
couple of years?
no, I've been legitimate retired. Buddy and I were talking about this. I've been legitimately retired since like 2012. I've done a couple matches here and there, off and on, and
I was kind of surprised to see you start popping up, on your Facebook page saying, "Hey, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here." I mean, it was a little surprising to me, just because I kind of knew what you had going on.
All right,
the years before that.
Let's just shoot direct here. The last time I retired, a lot of people don't know this. At the time, I was the current. What was I? I was some sort of champion for Keith Calhoun's promotion, and I was up at his show, and I wound up taking a body slam, and I started urinating blood, and went to doctors, and I found out that I have, believe it or not, even at my size, I have diverticulitis and Crohn's disease.
Okay.
And so I had to have surgery where they removed 6 foot of my bowel. And while they were in there, they also found a large mass. And that had to be removed too. And what was happening was that mass was causing me to bleed. If that would have ruptured when I took that body slam, I would have acquired sepsis.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Been done.
All right.
So that's why I retired that last time, and that always kind of bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
That show, I was trying to make a bit of a comeback, with Keith Calhoun's promotion, and it bothered me a bit. Well, then I got put into the XICW Hall of Fame, and my son told me that he wanted to be a wrestler, and
right.
that kind of put a little spark in me, and started going to a couple different schools and working out a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I can do this again.
Okay.
And that's when I contacted XICW about doing Proving Ground. Well, for some reason, after I started doing Proving Ground, these promoters started looking at this fat old man, and they're like, hey, I think we want to book that guy. And they started booking me. And, so I'm very grateful for the opportunity that not only these promoters are giving me to, help teach some of these younger guys some of the old school ways, but I don't know your first inaugural show, but actually, thank God for keeping me around so I can do it a little while longer.
Nice.
So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, so everything's good.
everything's
clean bill of
good.
health right now.
I get to start going to the doctor again, and we'll see what happens. Stay tuned. So
Okay. All right, let's switch gears here for a little bit. One other thing, that started off with us talking about some of the changes in the last 15 years. So we touched on it a little bit earlier, but the women's matches, like we were saying back in the day. Well, 15 years ago, basically they were still doing bra and panties matches on WWE.
Yeah.
In my opinion, TNA wrestling started showcasing the women. They like Gail Kim and Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
The matches that they were having, they would like main event the shows, and I was like, holy crap, this match was like one of the best matches on the show. It's come a lot further because, and you and I were talking about this, and I don't know if you know this. I don't know if you and I talked about this, but I was honestly shocked to hear because I'm old school. So anybody that's listening to this, don't sue me. But I was actually shocked to hear that for the most part, the women get paid more than the men nowadays, or just on the indies, or what?
Really?
I can't speak for the women. I've never gotten their pay.
but you have to have an inkling.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of, women getting paid more, but fact of the matter is, I also know that, there's promoters out there. He put it out there. He offered a gal from Chicago, $50 to come up here and wrestle, and $40 whoever she brings with her.
Oh,
And
okay.
I really don't want to get into talking about that, turd Eddy Farhad Jr. But
Well,
I say his name. Oh, my bad.
Okay, why not though? I mean, you know who he is, the Sheik's son.
Yeah, sure.
Just from what I've seen, people talking about online, and just from what I've seen of his posters and his promos for his shows, and I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff that he's pulled. Just how can the apple fall that far from the tree?
Man, are we really going to do this?
Why not? Hey,
Sling it.
as Barry Windham says, they're shooting here, so let's do it.
Fact of the matter is, I think Captain Ed got dropped on his head one too many times. Fact of the matter is, I think he looks at big time wrestling as his. He was essentially handed the keys to the kingdom, and he basically wiped his butt.
You could say that.
I could say it.
In fairness,
Yeah.
though, what kingdom that he was handed wasn't in good shape because it,
But a lot of people blame him for that, though, from back in the day.
Well, a lot of people do blame Ed Farhad Sr. for the fact that he did put on the same matches over and over and over, whether he would win his belt by DQ by throwing the fire or the fork or something like that. But, when you got Dick the Bruiser versus Hillbilly Buddy, or you got, this guy calling himself Ryu Shinzuki, who looks like he's...
Ryu.
Ryu. Yeah.
Is it Ryu?
I don't know these guys.
I called him the Great Mutard.
I don't know these guys. I don't know their training. I don't know their background. But fact of the matter is, you can't call yourself big time wrestling if you're also calling yourself the AWWL, and you're using guys who will never, ever, ever be the caliber of the Sheik or,
That's what
Bobo.
confused me about those guys is, because they'd run cards every once in a while, like in Flint. This was like a while ago.
Okay.
And you would see that, what are
AWWL, right?
Yeah.
Is what it is?
I call it AWWFUL.
Oh.
Awful wrestling.
But you would see that, and then it's like big time wrestling, and it just kind of always like confused me.
Well, you go to a site.
Well, his latest poster has nobody else that's going to be on the show, but he's got Bobo Brazil here and he's got the Sheik here.
Right. He's been riding his daddy's coattails for so long. I really didn't want to talk about him because fact of the matter is he doesn't deserve that kind of attention.
Hey, we can stop now. That's fine with me.
That's great.
So I don't know the guy, so I'm fine with that.
So let's get back to the women. Does that surprise you? What I said
Yeah.
about them getting paid?
Yeah,
I mean,
if
because
that's
you're old
true.
school like me. I mean,
Yeah.
that was. I mean, we liked a lot of the women's matches. I mean, there was a lot of women's wrestlers that we liked. But the old school guys kind of consider that the quote popcorn match,
Right.
or the bathroom break match. Either way.
Yeah, kind of like we were talking about before. It's, I looked at the women wrestlers as an attraction.
Right.
That
That's how they were presented for the most part.
Yeah. So apparently now it's changing where the promoters are thinking that, that the women are the draws on the cards, if that's true, with the whole pay that they're the ones that are going to draw the crowd and have them return the next time they're there. So good luck to them.
I'm
not a fan of it, but
I mean, I know you don't watch much anymore, but I know that we watched WrestleMania together last year.
yeah.
And Ronda Rousey, I mean, she shocked me. I mean, she didn't look green in that match at all. And seeing the matches that she's had since then, I mean, I know that they spent a lot of time with her, but still,
yeah, if they're rehearsing
it seems like
much.
that would still come through at some point. I mean, I know that she claims that she's a fan or whatever, but I mean, honestly, Kurt Angle looked worse in that match than she did. but you know, she obviously is kind of spearheading this whole women's revolution or whatever. I mean, now, I mean, they kind of started that before, but I mean, back in the day, I mean, I know that there was those female wrestling leagues that had pay-per-views. I mean, you and I were fans of Women of Wrestling, the David McLean show. We used to show it back on the Jobber Hour.
Yeah, but
Is it good wrestling?
That was more like
No.
Are you talking about Glow?
No.
Oh,
This was after
Oh,
Glow.
wow. Okay.
Pow and Wow.
Yeah, this was after Glow. This was after Pow. I mean, we would show some of it on there. I mean, for what it was at the time, it wasn't bad. I mean, they had some decent people on there, but so they actually presented a pay-per-view back then. The main event was Selena Majors, who used to be Bambi, in a cage match against Peggy Lee Leather, who I maybe that was her name all the time.
Yeah.
But that
Two good
was
workers.
actually
two very good workers.
yeah. I mean, that was actually I mean the undercard was what it was, but that was actually a good match.
Bambi, Jake the Snake's sister.
She is?
Yeah.
No, that's Rockin' Robin. You're thinking of Rockin' Robin.
yeah. Yep.
But that referee that they had back then, he took that
Oh.
bump off the cage.
Yeah.
I mean, that referee would take like these. I don't know his name, but he took those ridiculous bumps. But anyway, so this year they actually had the first WWEF all women's pay-per-view Evolution, and you know, I kind of had my arms crossed and was like, you know, I'm not gonna watch that, but I ended up turning it on. It was actually a great pay-per-view, one of the best WWF pay-per-views that I've seen in a while, to tell you the truth. You know, they got some women in there that can really go.
Yeah, I mean, they can go. I didn't watch the pay-per-view myself, but you know, fact of the matter is Dave Prazak's been doing this with Shimmer for God knows how long already.
Right.
You
Yes,
know?
yeah, them too.
I mean, they don't get the recognition that they deserve.
Right.
Dave Prazak is a hell of a booker and promoter. I mean, he's had people like Vita Scott and Allison Kay. You know, the list goes on and on. People who are now working for the Fed or have worked for the Fed or TNA, Gail Kim and whatnot. So as far as the WWE starting the women's revolution, I don't think that's the case. It's just that they're
They get the right to history because they're so big.
Well, where do you think
Right.
where do you think it started? Then you think it started on the Indies?
I think it absolutely started on the Indies.
Okay.
I would too.
Because without you know an indie, you don't have a WWE. I don't care. I mean, sure you got the NXT now, but you know back then.
Well, that's true, and that's something else that I wanted to say. For as big a fan as I was like 10 years ago of Ring of Honor and even like TNA at a certain point, all those guys that have gone on to WWE, and I don't think the matches are bad. It's just something about it that I do not want to watch. But like Samoa Joe and Tyler Black and Bobby Roode and like all those guys that AJ Styles, all those guys that we used to see in Ring of Honor and TNA, you know, I'm huge fans of Sami Zayn. But for some reason, when they're in the WWE ring, I don't care about watching them. And I mean, if I do watch it, it's not like I think that it's a bad match or anything, but it's just something about it. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Does it mean anything?
Well, I mean, they've kind of gotten back to longer title reigns and making the titles mean a little bit more than they did, like, say, back in the Attitude Era, in my opinion.
Was that something more recent?
Yeah, I mean, within the last few years,
Oh, okay.
I would say so.
But if you watch NXT right now, and Cody Fleming just posted a hell of a question.
Mhm.
It says the NXT, or a lot of people are saying that NXT is going to kill the Indies. What do you think? In fact, the matter is, I don't think it's going to kill the Indies.
In what way do you mean kill?
Well, because what I know where he's going with this is the fact that they are bringing everybody up. Okay, so the way I'm looking at it is the Indies are the feeder fed for NXT, and NXT is the feeder fed for the Fed.
Right.
So you know, you got to start somewhere. NXT is not going to kill off the Indies, and in my opinion, because you always got to have that next AJ Styles. You got to always have that next, you know, Tyler Black or Dean Ambrose. You know, there's always going to be someone out there. And I'll tell you, you know, you got guys out there right now like Aaron Orion, you know, Jack Price, Alex Weird. These guys are out there killing it week in and week out. And these are guys that you're going to see. Aaron Orion's already been on WWE TV.
Yeah, I saw that. Good for him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
That was great.
you got guys who are Aiden Prince is out there right now. All these guys are getting looked at, and it's going to happen sooner or later.
So I mean, maybe I'm still not getting the kill off. Like they're gonna go ruin the indies, like they've ruined the other big companies. Like the WWF has put so and so out of business. Is that what we're talking about?
It's I know what he's talking about. It's every guy, it seems like that rises to the top. Like there's some guys that have been around for a long time that are probably never going to get picked up by NXT at this point. But a lot of the younger guys, when they rise to the top in there, next thing you know, they're getting plucked into NXT.
Yeah, this is what Cody's saying. He's saying, essentially NXT is draining the talent pool out of the indies.
Oh, just like the WWF did for the territories.
Somewhat.
Fact of the matter is, there's a new baby born every day.
Right.
So indies aren't going nowhere.
Well,
so.
I in response to that, though, WWF's been pulling people from the indies forever. They used to have the Florida, the Ohio Valley. They had the company out in Los Angeles, so they've been doing this for a while. But if indie wrestling is spiked up, you're starting to get a couple thousand people here for this show, a couple thousand here, then.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Within the last 15 years, I mean, the independent scene is actually doing well right now. I mean, so well that they did the All-In pay-per-view, which, they're kind of saying that they didn't get that many buys. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I watched it, but it is definitely a viable. I mean, it's not. I mean, I can't really call it competition for the WWE at this point, but it's a viable option if you're not watching WWE. And like I said, I mean, I will watch if I'm flipping through the channels and I come across Ring of Honor nowadays. I'll still watch Ring of Honor, but I don't seek out watching WWE really at any point unless it's like a pay-per-view that I'll watch on the network. But that's about it. Now, as far as NXT goes, it just seems like WWE has so much talent. I mean, this was a problem back in the 80s too, where they'd bring up a guy that was just super talented, but he'd kind of get lost in the shuffle. Now they have so many people. Do you think they just have too many people that it's oversaturated?
Yes.
I mean, a guy like a Bobby Roode, who's I mean, in my opinion, he was awesome, and he's on the mid card, or you're the tag team that you liked, the Revival.
All right,
What's going on with them?
let's just put it out there. There's always an option. They don't have to wrestle for WWE if they think that their character is not being utilized properly.
True.
I mean, look at Neville, now going by the name of Pac. Look at Austin Aries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to talk about that.
I mean, there's always, it's just like in any job that you have. There's always someone else in line to replace you. Mm-hmm. I tell you what, I cannot wait for my day off from work so I can watch NXT because I want to know who they're bringing in the following week. To me, this is just like the Monday Night Wars. I love seeing, when Matt Riddle come out of nowhere, I was floored. And then next thing you know, they got him versus Punishment Martinez last week. It's like, wow. I'm absolutely floored.
I have to admit, I don't watch. I don't really watch NXT either. I mean, I'll watch the pay-per-views that they do, or on the network the day before the other pay-per-views for the most part. I mean, and if I catch it, I'll watch it if I happen to be on the network for whatever reason.
If you're not watching NXT, you're never going to see these guys as good as they are now. Because in my opinion, when an indie guy gets called up to NXT, they're there to put on a show to be noticed by Vince so that they can get paid and get called up to the main roster.
And then they water them down.
So, yeah, that's kind of what they say. Once you get out, forget everything you learned.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. You go ahead and you pay me 6-figure, you know, I'll do whatever the hell you want me to do. You want me to run around out front in my underwear beating my head with a frying pan? I will do that for you. The fact of the matter is you can water me down as much as you want. Just fill my pockets up with money because that's what I'm there for.
Yeah, well, I just don't know how they can have that many, you know, that much talent and get anybody over. And I guess maybe that's because I'm more old school where the focus is kind of narrowed to where you can draw some real money, AKA Austin, Hogan, Rock. You know, not that I think Rock is old school, but in that vein, Ric Flair, you narrow the focus.
So let's
and
go
then
ahead
go from there.
And flip the script back to what we were talking about in the beginning when I was talking about XICW.
Yeah.
It's the look at me attitude era now.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Right.
Because I'm here to get myself over.
Sure.
And this is what these guys want to do. They want to get over to Vince. I'm telling you, if you're not watching NXT right now, if you're not watching that product, you're definitely missing out.
Okay.
It's the same thing with Ring of Honor.
I mean, when I have seen it, I mean, it's fantastic, but it's just, I mean, at this point in my life, I just don't, all I'm saying is I don't seek it out.
You're not going to see another Austin. You're not going to see another Rock. You're not going to see another Cena.
Right. I don't want to see those guys anyway.
You're not going to just see one big name on the card. Well, you know how it used to be. Hogan was the big name on the card.
Sure,
Steve
but they
Austin
had
was the big
supporting
name on the
talent.
card.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels was the big name on the card. Now anymore, you got 15 different guys, and each one of them are a main eventer in their own right. And that's what you're there for.
That's kind of what I was saying. I mean, it's like, how much room is there for at the very top for all these guys that they have that are so freaking talented? That's all I was trying to say.
And they do have a lot of
with the
television to
oversaturation and the lost in the shuffle thing.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but some guys actually who are working and under contract with the WWE are going to shows like Evolve, and they're actually being used on those shows as well now.
Well, don't they have some sort of agreement, whether it be a handshake or something with each other?
Right. Fact of the matter is there's always enough room. I don't care. There's always enough room, especially when it comes to Vince's pockets.
Yeah.
There's always enough room. So.
All right, to switch it up big time, I saw this earlier or last week. I saw a tweet from one of the Young Bucks about a possible return. It was very cryptic, but a possible return of LJN and the wrestling figures LJN. That LJN had. You and I grew up with those. Levi, you came along a little bit after. I don't know if those were still out or were
the
they
big rubber figures?
Yeah.
Those were my favorites.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, then you're right along with us. That is like the biggest news that I've seen this week in wrestling. I was so excited. I mean, but who knows? I mean, like I said, it's very cryptic. It looks like it's going to be a tag team set of the Young Bucks. I mean, and he said that I don't know if it's a tweet or whatever, but he said. That he just signed a deal with an old company that you may recognize.
You know what? I can go to a few other guys out there right now, and I can have a Levi Blue figure maybe too.
I can't buy the LJN story.
So,
I just can't.
I mean, the Young Bucks, I'm telling you what, those guys are marketing and promotional geniuses. I don't care what anyone says about them. I don't care if they throw a million super kicks. To me, they are the Miley Cyrus of the wrestling world.
Yeah.
They got all the attention on them, and between them and Kenny Omega, they are geniuses.
Well, like you're saying, that's kind of what it is now,
Yeah, it's look at me.
Yeah.
But I looked into that LJN. I looked at what I could look at, and I didn't see anything about it coming back, and it's been off for.
So wait a minute. I just want to say this. Real quick. I want to point this out to you, buddy. You said,
"Hey, I'm Brace Beemer."
Okay. Well, he was calling you buddy, so
I know that used to be my name around here. So.
He's Brace Buddy Beemer. Don't let him lie.
So you're saying that you haven't watched the product in a long time, but yet because the LJN tweet went out by the Young Bucks, you actually looked into it.
He probably would have never seen that.
I would have never seen it, but
I
Tim
sent it to him
me.
because I wanted to talk about it today.
Marketing geniuses.
But still, either way,
It works.
Yeah.
Another future return and this is verified. This was verified last week. The XFL. Now, exactly. I mean, now they're saying, okay, we're going to do it right. We got this person in place. We're going to do it this way, whatever. I mean, I remember when it debuted. I mean, I watched it like the first couple of weeks, and it was what it was. And not too long after the ratings started to drop, they started to have Jesse Ventura get into it with one of the owners or coaches, and start working some stuff. What's your opinion on that?
I don't care about the XFL.
I hope it works because I'm getting tired of the NFL.
I was a bit disappointed when they announced the teams. We got a completely empty stadium over in Auburn Hills that could have used an XFL team. Maybe then it may have piqued my interest, but as of right now,
right?
No. I mean, what was that one guy's name? You want to hurt
He
me?
hate me.
Or he hate me.
Yeah.
That's the only guy I know.
Didn't that guy end up getting picked up by the NFL?
Yeah, he played for Carolina Panthers, I believe.
Okay.
But and really, there's the other football division too. I mean, I love sports, so Ebersol's kid and NBC are gonna try another football league too. That's supposed to start next year, an XFL the year
Oh, really?
after. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't even know about that.
With the XFL, I hope they don't try and go overboard like they did last time, but I hope it works. I like the USFL when they were playing a long time ago.
Any chance of them bringing Jesse Ventura back to be an announcer at this point?
No.
I just noticed how white my beard is in your camera.
Why do you think I got this on?
Well, I can't say no with Ventura. Because Jesse says if you put the zeros and the comma in the right place, then I'll do anything you need.
Yeah, that's true. Although he's sued Vince how many times?
But he still came back and refereed. And,
right. Yeah, that's true. All right. Earlier this week, when I knew that you guys were both going to be on here, I had sent you some videos that I want to discuss. A month or so ago, David Arquette announced his return to wrestling. Which, I just figured, okay, I'm never going to see that, whatever. But he was actually in a hardcore match. Was that Combat Zone? I don't know if it was Combat Zone, but either way, it was against, it was like a hardcore match against Nick Cage, or Nick Gage. Nick Gage. David Arquette, you could tell, apparently I think he got cut open on the neck by a light tube during the match. Freaked out, was trying to leave the match, and Nick Gage wouldn't let him stop. I just sent you the very end of it, where you see Arquette coming back into the ring, laying down, wanted Gage to finish it right then, and for whatever reason, he didn't. So then it looked like Arquette tried to shoot on the guy, and then he just flipped him over, did a pin. David Arquette no-sells the pin, stands up, and just walks right out.
He was watching Austin Aries matches.
Well, yeah, we've had a couple of those lately, but
David Arquette, I got to give it to the guy. At least he's trying to make up for the whole Jimmy King WCW heavyweight title thing. I do have to admit, I did call up a promoter and told them I wanted a match against Arquette, but I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Well, is he done? Did he already say he was done after this?
That was brutal.
He's still going to continue?
As far as I know, he's going to continue. He's just not going to do any death matches.
Oh, okay. So. Well, that would be an intelligent thing. Buddy, what is your thoughts on the return of David Arquette?
That is what happens when somebody gets into wrestling just to live out a fantasy and say, "Look at me." Instead of worrying about,
but is it his fault? I mean, go back to the WCW days, and I mean, that was Vince Russo's grand idea to put the title on him.
From that perspective, you can say, well, somebody should have stopped him
because people were talking about it.
It's Vince Russo.
But nonetheless,
No.
if you're gonna get in the ring and look like that, you're basically saying that I don't care if anybody shows up next time. I'm gonna get my wood. I'm gonna do what I want to do. I'm gonna live my fantasy, and that's what it's all about. It's killing the business.
Arquette looked good. I mean, he was cut up. He was not my poor choice of words.
Yeah, he did.
But I mean,
anything Levi just said before this, throw it out the window.
But no, you're absolutely right. I don't know how much training he had previous to this. Anyone that gets half-ass trained shouldn't be trying to work in, any legitimate promotions.
He didn't even look like he was half-ass trained.
Hey, come on! He had a killer worm and he had a spear back in the day. That's all he needed. He's like Goldberg.
They're calling for
That's
Nick
all
Cage
he
versus David Arquette and Ready to Rumble too. So
Yeah, that was embarrassing to me. What do you think of it, Tim? Or Butch?
kayfabe be damned.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, it was I mean the same thing. I was like, I don't know. I mean, like you said, same thing. David Arquette probably wanting to live out his fantasy or whatever, and his Hollywood stock, I'm sure, has dropped at this point. I haven't really seen him in anything major in a long time.
I was going to say, how can it drop when it was never even up to begin with?
Well, he's from Hollywood, so that should have been red flag number 1.
Yeah, so I mean, I figured that he was probably just hurting for some money and decided to do that. That's pretty much it.
Obviously, he likes it, but that's I don't know. If he's going to do that, maybe nobody should be taping.
Another video that I sent you guys, and I didn't even bother to write down the guys' names, but was a lucha libre match where one of the guys, I mean, it looked like another hardcore match. One of the guys was standing on the ramp. The guy hits him with one of the guys hits the other guy with a couple decent chair shots. Apparently, this pissed him off. He goes in the ring, somehow gets a concrete brick, throws it as hard as he can at the back of the guy's head. I believe it fractured his skull. The guy went down. I did see at first that everybody was calling to ban this guy, but now I'm seeing that people are booking him because of this. What are your thoughts on that, Levi?
When you become internet famous, you're going to get booked. That's goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's kind of a crappy way to as far as I'm concerned, that was attempted murder.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
How do I want to put this? Because I want to be booked, but fact of the matter is, any reputable promoter is not going to want a person on their show who attempted to kill another worker. And he claims that he wasn't aiming for the head, but I gotta say, that was a pretty darn good shot.
Yeah, it sure looked like it.
He should be in jail. He should get the crap kicked out of him. Like old school way. He wouldn't have, he wouldn't have made it out of locker room.
Right.
But that's a joke. Nobody should hire the guy. That guy's an idiot. I don't cast any blame on the promotion or the style or anything, whatever they're doing. That was just one individual being a moron.
It is what Levi said. It was attempted murder in my book.
Yep.
You mentioned this a little bit. The other video that I sent you was Austin Aries versus Johnny, whatever he's calling himself this week, from TNA Wrestling. It was a title switch. Johnny Impact, I believe, is what they're calling him in TNA. Wins the belt. Austin Aries no-sells it, stands up, walks out, flips the crowd off, and walks out. And at first I was thinking it was probably a work, but Austin was gone shortly after that. I mean, I've heard that, I haven't heard a whole lot of good things about him. A hell of a worker, though. I mean, I've seen that guy live a few times, and I mean, he's great in the ring, but what is his malfunction outside of the ring?
Fact of the matter is, you can't necessarily lay judgment on him when we don't know what the circumstances were.
I'm just trying to tie it in with him the way he left WWE as well.
Well, maybe they, he left WWE just like we were talking about earlier. There's choices. If you feel like you're being buried, leave.
He was not being buried, though.
He didn't feel like he was being pushed to the potential that he actually has, from what I understand. Okay. We don't know what happened in the locker room. We don't know what happened between him and the booking agent. We don't know what happened between him and the promoter. For him to get up and walk out like that, sure, it was unprofessional. Is it going to hurt him? No. You know why? Because a dude hit another dude in the back of the head with a brick, and he's getting booked. Austin Aries walks out on a match. He become internet famous once again. He's going to get booked. It's not going to hurt him at all.
That was terrible. That was just absolutely that the guy, he like did Tom Zink on steroids. You know, he looked jumping up like that. It looks like he didn't have any experience, but obviously he does. First, if no matter what was going on in the back, no matter what his reasons are, you take care of business in the ring. You work for the card, not for yourself, and take care of that in the back.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Tom Zank, I just saw a video of him versus I think it was in that Pro Wrestling USA promotion that they had. That was a combination of I think it was when WWF was
with
first
Jarrett,
starting
Gagne,
to
Crockett,
raise the territories. Well, that was a little bit after. I think this was like 80, probably like 84, 85. And I think it was on ESPN. It was AW. I don't think Jarrett was involved. I could be wrong, but I know it was like AW. It was the combination of AWA and NWA.
Yeah, that's where they went to New York with the Steamboat and Flair match.
So Zank's in a match with the American version of Kendo Nagasaki. Nagasaki squashes him. I mean, in like, a few minutes, Zank, right on cue, gets up and does the Zank. Just stands up, walks out. Like, I'm just like, this is a term that we had coined a long time ago, as Zanking, which basically is no selling. If you watch a lot of his old stuff, boom, he gets put out with a sleeper. He gets right up and walks out of the ring like
as soon as the bell rings.
I mean, he was notorious. I mean, I don't think anybody else like may have noticed it, but I mean, we noticed it like all the time. I mean, not to speak ill of the dead, because I think he did pass away last year, but either way. And I should mention this, two pretty major deaths in the wrestling world this last week. The Dynamite Kid and Larry the Axe Hennig. You guys have any thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, the Axe. Obviously, Kurt Hennig's dad. Former AWA great, tag team partner with Harley Race, former world champion, old school guy.
He outlived his son by 16 years?
Big as a house. Great performer. And who's the other? I'm sorry, Dynamite Kid. Yeah, that was one of the guys that kind of changed the way a lot of wrestlers coming into the business wanted to be. He was probably 10, 15 years ahead of his time, but pretty much you go watch an old Dynamite Kid match, especially his famous ones with in Japan against Tiger Mask.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what a lot of people do now.
Right.
That similar style. It's kind of a mix between the lucha,
Right.
the Japanese style, the catch-as-catch-can American, and just kind of a mishmash of all that. And a lot of people are still doing that style today.
Dynamite Kid, was he still around when you were watching? I mean, I know he had that injury, but was he pretty much done when you started watching it, or was?
Oh no, he was
okay.
Yeah,
Because he had that injury in what, the late 80s,
Late 80s.
early 90s.
Yeah.
What about Larry Hennig?
Larry.
He had to be done.
Larry the Axe Hennig.
I mean,
I was
'cause-
watching him, through like it would have been like the golden age of video wrestling.
Sure,
tapes
yeah,
and
absolutely.
whatnot. So,
Yeah.
it's just been a bad year as far as losing some of our brothers and sisters in the ring here. It's a shame that Dynamite Kid had to go. Fact of the matter is, though, he I don't like to say this about anybody, but he didn't have that high quality of life that he really should have.
Right.
No, he didn't.
And,
At the end there, and I saw a lot of people online saying that they didn't want to just outright trash him, but I did see a lot of people online prefacing their tributes to him by saying what a miserable human being he was outside of the ring.
Right.
Unfortunately, he's got that reputation. Mick Foley, I remember, touched on in his book. I've seen a lot of shoot interviews about it. He was what he was.
Yeah, he just grew bitter apparently, but
I guess so.
yeah, what a talent.
you got
what a talent.
Someone asking you guys, is this going to be a weekly podcast now?
I don't know yet. We'll try to get it out there as much as possible and let people know. Like I said, this is kind of like the pilot episode. I just wanted to get it out here. I would like to, but it just depends on if my shoot schedule allows it. And but with that, like I said, we'll keep everybody updated as much as we can. I'm going to start wrapping it up here. Levi, and feel free to definitely come back anytime. It was a pleasure having you on here. Thank you for being our first guest on here.
You guys having me here.
And, you got anything you want to plug?
December 29th in Port Huron. You can check it out at bwcwstars.com. They're doing a Headlock on Hunger show. Proceeds are going to benefit the, homeless and hungry.
Oh, nice.
Out there in Port Huron. If you could check that out. Also got some upcoming shows. You can check out xicwdetroit.com on that. Also look up Detroit Style Wrestling. I believe they have a show on the 19th of January. I'm thinking I might have to show up to that. I got some unsettled business with Rough House Rob I got to take care of. Let me think here. Check out universalwrestlingenterprises.com. You can check out all these promotions out on Facebook. Horror Slam.
Now that looks interesting. Unfortunately, I can't travel like I used to. And unfortunately, it's quite a ways away from me. But I've seen a little bit about it, and I would definitely like to check some of that out.
Check out pureprowrestling.net. They got a killer training facility if you're looking to be a pro wrestler. I could go on all day about plugging stuff, but damn it, you just want to look for Levi Blue on Facebook. and
You'll have your itinerary on the front, huh?
That's right.
Buddy, what do you got going on? Anything you want to plug?
I want to plug Levi Blue here.
I bet you do. An exclusive here on the podcast.
No, Levi, you were my official trainer as a referee in wrestling, and I know I thanked you that before, but I want to do it publicly here. I really appreciate that, and you got me booked at places, and I thought that was great.
Well, let me know when you're ready to do it again.
Hell of a guy here.
Yeah, he definitely is. And like I said, we'll keep everybody updated. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Butch.
Hopefully, we will be doing more of this in the future.
Stop saying that so slow. I got to go poop.
You kind of sounded like Milt of Ruskin. Now, if anybody knows who Milt of Ruskin is, there's a prize waiting at the door.
We will see you next time.